Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome to another special release of Investor Stories. On this installment, the experts discuss a startup that they did not invest in, why they passed, and if there was a key learning that now informs their approach. Here's the segment called Why I Passed. On today's special segment, we have Brian Requarth of Latitude. Brian, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass, a story about a startup that you passed on?
Well, I think that every investor instantly goes to the regrets, right? You mentioned Rappy earlier on. I met Simone and Sebastian, the founders, and I wasn't really a professional investor. And I don't even know if I'm considered a professional investor at this point. I'm more of an entrepreneur that happens to write some checks. But the conversation with them, there was a handful of indicators, right? One, they were growing like crazy. Two, Andreessen had just ponied up and they had a term sheet there. So it's probably good signs of things that I should, probably pay attention to. And, I wasn't invited to invest, but it was probably just an ask away, and then later on, even as the company grew, I was this is way too expensive. So the common thread of my regrets are it's too expensive. And not that I'm a value focused investor, I've invested in stuff at pretty high valuations before with, fairly low traction because of the team or because of the market or because of a handful of, other reasons. But the big regrets I have usually come down to it seems preposterous, the valuation. I mean, I remember looking at Loft, which is a, open door of Brazil. And actually, I'm very good friends with the founders. I'm an investor in their fund. We're co-investors in tons of angel deals. And they actually originally had invited me to join them in the company, but I found it was a conflict of interest for the business I was building. And so I passed on that. And then I passed on the investment stupidly because they're oh, it's a $50 million valuation. And I'm you guys don't even have anything yet, And I'm I can't justify that. And then they raised it a $3 billion valuation, just a couple months ago. So that is a pretty strong regret, I guess I would say, or mistake that I made. So now I don't rest my laurels on the economics and the price. I am it's not that I'm not price sensitive at all. And I don't invest in any valuation, but I try to look holistically about the market opportunity, the team. And I sometimes will stretch on deals that I think seem expensive at the time, because all the best deals that I saw that were amazing, they were all expensive and they keep being expensive. And then they became even more expensive. I'm not with them. So that's painful.
On today's special segment, we have Emily Paxhia of Poseidon. Emily, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass, a story about a startup that you passed on?
One was this company called Grassroots. It was a MSO forming out of the Midwest. Really liked it, liked the team. Am I still feeling sad about this? I don't know. We were concerned because it was disaggregated and they had to bring it together. And we were concerned about how they were going to do the valuations, pulling it all together. We'd gone through that with GTI and they did it very elegantly. And as a shareholder, we felt very well protected in that process. But this was a newer group. We weren't sure how they were going to do it. We were going to have to enter in through one of the states and then hope that they ran a good process in terms of combining it so it wouldn't be dilutive. So we passed on it. It was ultimately acquired by Curaleaf. And I do think they did very well in that transaction. So that one was tough, but we do feel from being a fiscally responsible fund manager, there were a lot of unknowns on how that would have played out. And I'm still, in the deal terms with Curaleaf, I'm not crystal clear on how well they did, but we were concerned about it.
On today's special segment, we have Eric Sippel of Sippel Farb. Eric, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass, a story about a fund that you passed on?
So it's both good and bad. Bad because performance was amazing, and good because it didn't fit my criteria. And so I feel good about that. I'll throw out three funds because they all are well known and it was a while ago and we have performance to prove me wrong. One is Initialized Fund 2. Second is Lux. I think it was Fund 2 or Fund 3. And the third was Andreessen. Again, probably Fund 2 or Fund 3. I think it was Fund 3. And in all cases, they've done extremely well. And of course, if I had invested in that fund, when I invest, I usually think about investing for the lifetime of the emerging manager, unless I think that they have lost their edge. And I would have invested a lot of capital in funds from those three firms for a long time, and I would have done extremely well. So that was a bad pass in terms of performance. And I didn't have long conversations with any of them. They wouldn't remember me. Met them in sort of a group setting of 10 in each case. And it was a good pass because they don't fit what I'm looking for. Lux closest to what I'm looking for, but they were all too large. I thought that they wouldn't necessarily be able to sustain their edge. I was wrong, but those are examples.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.